I think we all can agree that we're a little too busy sometimes and we just need to get away once in a while and recharge and refresh. And I have the perfect place to go to do such a thing. It is Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, otherwise known as Amish country. In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 main steps to help you plan the perfect getaway to Amish country. Hey everybody, welcome to L Living. I'm your host Danielle and I'm here to help you plan your Lancaster trips, especially in this video because this is kind of the ultimate planning guide to a trip to Lancaster, especially if you're a first-time visitor or if you're just not super familiar with all that Lancaster has to offer. Because here's a myth, it's not just Amish country. It is so much more than Amish country, which is why I'm giving you these 5 objectives to really get to know the area. So this will be a pretty long video, all-encompassing video, but I want to have it all in one video so it's easier to get back to for reference sake. But there are timestamps below to get to somewhere you want to get to quickly. So if you want to get to the food or the culture or whatever, you can just click on that little timestamp in the description and you get there really fast. Okay, so here are the 5 basic objectives to help you plan this weekend getaway. First you have food, then you have the local culture, next is entertainment, then shopping, and then finally, downtime. I will give several choices with each option as well as my personal favorites. And I'll throw some planning tips in along the way too. Okay, first planning objective is the food. They're famous for the food. It is delicious Pennsylvania Dutch style food. It's agrarian, German-based, delicious food. Comforting, yummy, filling, all that stuff. So I'm going to give you a few examples of what to try. That's the classic dishes. First we have macaroni and cheese and stewed tomatoes. Yes, they go together. It's so yummy that way. That's the way they do it around here. Then we have browned buttered noodles. This is a famous Lancaster County dish as well. Next we have fried or roasted chicken, Amish filling and gravy, kind of like stuffing, and then chicken pot pie, delicious. There's also ham balls and beef and gravy. Ham balls are classic Pennsylvania Dutch Lancaster area food. Then there's red beet eggs, which are just very yummy. Whoopie pies, which are kind of like their most known dessert, I would say. Then we have sticky buns and shoe fly pie. Shoe fly pie being another very classic dessert around here. You either love it or hate it, by the way. Ice cream, of course. There's tons of cows and they're all beautiful. So yes, lots of ice cream. Okay, next I'm going to give you a list of the most popular buffets / smorgasbords in the county, which will allow you to sample a whole bunch of different kinds of food. And I'm going to tell you what's kind of special about each restaurant so you can kind of compare them to the other ones. We'll start out with Shady Maple. So this is by far the biggest smorgasbord in the entire county, let alone probably the whole United States. Here you will definitely get the biggest variety of food to choose from and a good way to sample a lot of different kinds of local food. So that's a really good thing about Shady Maple. And they also have an enormous gift shop underneath the restaurant, which is probably the biggest one in town. So those are 2 special things about Shady Maple. Next I'm going to tell you about the Bird and Hand Family Restaurant and Smorgasbords. This is a favorite of many people, including mine, one of my favorites. I highly recommend their ham balls, which I think are the best in the entire county. Their cucumber onion salad is extremely good. Their shoe fly pie is really good here, and their whoopie pies, especially their mini whoopie pies, which you can buy in the bakery across the street. But what you're going to get at the Bird and Hand Family Restaurant is high quality service and high quality food. It's always good here. It's been like that for decades. And something else special about them is they have a stage underneath the restaurant. So there's a theater down there. You can go and watch some really great shows before or after you eat. And finally, the restaurant's part of the bigger property. And there's an inn on property. There's a miniature golf course on property. And right down the street is the Bird and Hand Farmers Market. So it's a great location as well. Okay, next on the restaurant list is Miller's Smorgasbord. This is a very well-established and well-loved place. They've been around the longest. They're the oldest restaurant in Lancaster, so that's pretty cool. At Miller's, you will get a lot of high-quality food. The food is excellent here. The atmosphere is really, really nice, too, and they have a whole bunch of old pictures of Lancaster and Miller's all over the walls, which I love, too. It brings a lot of the history of the area into the restaurant. My favorite thing they have here is their macaroni and cheese. It's the best, not just in Lancaster, but probably any restaurant I've ever had it. They also have really good shrimp and soups and bread pudding and desserts and ice cream. It's just a really delicious meal. And they also have a quilt shop and a Tioli / gift shop on property as well. Okay, the next popular smorgasbord on the list is Hershey Farm. It is another delicious place to eat with many local dishes, my favorite being their chicken pot pie and the Amish filling and gravy, all Pennsylvania Dutch style, by the way. And one of their most loved dishes is actually their creme brulee French toast. What stands out to me about this place, besides the good food, is their atmosphere. I love it because it's kind of like an old country stable feel and done so in a very classy way. And it's also extremely clean here. They keep on top of things here and make sure it's always clean. They also have a gift shop and an inn on property, and they're right next to Sight and Sound, which is a big plus if you're going to go to a show. So those are the kind of special things about this place. Next, I have the recommendation for the most family-friendly restaurant in Lancaster, in my opinion, and that is Oregon Dairy. It's a wonderful place for anyone to eat, especially if you have little kids and even older kids. And they probably have the best Sundays in Lancaster County, by the way. It's a great property for kids. They have a playground, they have animals, they have lots of year-round activities at the property. So it's just a really fun place to go and very delicious as well. Okay, now we're going to talk about one of my favorite places, and that is Dienner's Country Restaurant. And what it lacks in size, it makes up for in everything else. I like that it is a cozier option for a buffet. It's a nice change from the bigger places, I think, sometimes. And from the decor to the service to the food, it is all superb. It's hard to give you one recommendation for this place because I love all the food, but I will say they have the best peanut butter pie. Next on the list is actually Smokehouse BBQ Brews, because it used to be known as Plain and Fancy Farm/Restaurant. And it is still part of the bigger property, which is one reason I want to recommend it. It's amongst a really neat area with a buggy ride and a museum tour and a video. So it's part of the Amish experience area, and it's a really nice thing to do for touring the area. But they still do have some Lancaster County, Pennsylvania Dutch style food on the menu. You just gotta look for it. Okay, real quick, we're gonna talk about Good and Plenty. So they were a restaurant that had been around for 52 years, served family style dining. However, they just closed their doors and are selling. But I'm hoping that they are bought out and someone else opens the restaurant so we don't have to say goodbye to them forever. But just keep them on your radar just in case. The last two smorgasbord/buffets I want to mention are Yoder's Restaurant and Buffet, which has been around for a while and served delicious buffets every night. And then also Lititz Family Cupboard, which has been around for about 20 years and also serves a great big buffet that a lot of people really enjoy. Now, I can't speak from personal experience because I've yet to visit these places, though I really want to, but I do know they're very popular among a lot of people, so I wanted to give them a shout out on this video. Okay, so the second part of this food section is going to talk about the non-buffet meals, the sit-down, order off the menu kind of relaxing meals. And we're going to start with two I've already mentioned because they actually have menu dining options. The first is Dienner's, and then there's Bird in Hand, and they both have an option to come in, sit down, order off the menu. So that's a great way to enjoy their food and pay less and eat less. Katie's Kitchen is another great restaurant in Lancaster, and they are Amish owned and operated, so that's in itself really special. And they have this thing called an Amish wedding meal they offer on Tuesdays, which also helps them stand out. But they are a great little restaurant that's cozy and quaint and good service. Now, there are two other restaurants I'm going to bring up here. I have not been to them personally, but they have some great reviews. One is called Hometown Kitchen, which is in the southern end of Lancaster County, and the other one is Dutch Way Restaurant located in Gap. So there are a lot of restaurants and cafes and coffee shops in Lancaster, but the ones I mentioned are the ones that are most popular that people come back to over and over again that have some really great local food for you to try. Okay, that was a lot of talk about food, but it's a great place for food, so it's worth the time I spent on it, I believe. But let's move on to number two, which is the local culture. So most first-time visitors really want to learn a lot about the local culture here, especially the Amish. And there's a lot of ways to do that here, and there's a lot of really great, amazing history in Lancaster besides the Amish. So there's a lot to do in this realm. Here are some ways that I recommend you learn the Amish way of life, followed by other recommendations for some other local cultural learning. First, do a tour. This is really the best way to get a close-up look at the Amish way of life from a knowledgeable local. And you can choose the kind of tour that you want, that you're comfortable with, and there's lots of different ones. So first of all, we're going to talk about a farm tour. So if you want an authentic Amish farm tour, you have to head to Old Windmill Farm. This is an Amish owned and operated farm that offers tours and hands-on experiences at a very small fee. I've been here many times, and Jesse and Anna, the hosts of the farm, are always extremely gracious and are very happy to talk to you about their way of life and their beliefs and let you try on farm life. If you love feeding baby animals or holding baby animals and even milking a cow, this is the place for you. Another option is Verdant View Farm Tours, where you can also get some hands-on experience of farm life. This is not Amish owned, but this family has been running this farm for 5 generations and has some deep roots in the community. And it's also a B&B, so you can kind of kill two birds with one stone here. And if you love cows, I would suggest a tour at the Crider Farm. So I can't speak from personal experience, but I will say this looks really terrific. And they have some great history, including one of the original owners being related to Milton Hershey, the father of chocolate. But there are some cool things on this tour, including a mood-ternity. Seriously, that might be my new favorite word. And you also get a free ice cream sample, so that's good reasons to go here. Another fun cow/ice cream tour is the Lap Valley Farm. You can get some delicious local ice cream made from their own Jersey cows, and then you can also see peacocks and bulldogs and cats, and then you can also see the Jersey cows being milked and pet the calves that are bottle fed. So that's a pretty sweet little reason to go over to Lap Valley Farm. Okay, so moving along from the farm tours, there are some other options. So one of my favorite ways to really get to know the local area is a buggy ride tour, because you're literally doing two fun things. You're taking a buggy ride, which is honestly just very therapeutic and relaxing, and then you can hear from a local about the whole area and the Amish traditions and the Amish way of life. So it's a great way to combine those two things together. And then they also will take you to some farms sometimes and do little tours on the farms or go through a covered bridge. It's a great way to learn a lot about Lancaster and still have a great time doing it. So a few more suggestions for some tours. The Mennonite Information Center actually offers personalized private tours you have to ask about, but they do offer this great service, and they will literally get in your car with you and show you how to get around and talk to you about the off the beaten path places and make some really fun stops. This is a great option for a local tour by someone who really knows the area. Another option for a personalized private tour is through Old Order Amish tours. They offer tours that include visits of Amish farms, but they also offer group tours that can include lodging, dining, and more, so they kind of customize it to your liking and to what you want to do for that vacation. The next option for a personalized tour is with Locale Experiences. I can't speak on behalf of them personally, but they offer many different tours of Lancaster, including some of the city, but their Amish country tours look pretty good. They have one called the Truly Authentic Lancaster Experience and another called Tour and Meal with an Amish Family and more. So those are pretty neat options for some personalized tours. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the more bigger, more all-inclusive tourist spots, and these places have kind of like all-in-one stops. So it's kind of nice to go here because you can get a lot done at one place. So I'm talking about places like the Amish Farm and House, the Amish Experience, as well as the Amish Village. These all have kind of Amish house tour museum type places on their property, as well as some of them have covered bridges or an Amish schoolhouse or animals. So there's a lot to do with these properties. They will give you lots of information during these tours about the local life and Amish culture, but they also offer like countryside road tours where you get in their like mini buses and they drive you around for like 2 hours and they talk even more about Lancaster. And the Amish Experience also has a mini movie inside the building called Jacob's Choice that's really informative and tells you a lot about the Amish. They also have these things called VIP tours where you can get a personal tour of an Amish farm. Okay, so another opportunity to learn a lot about the local culture is through all the museums of Lancaster County. There are a ton of museums here in all different forms and all different subjects. I'm not going to list them all because there are just too many, but I will highlight some of the ones that focus on the history of this very special place. First of all, there's the Mennonite Information Center, which doesn't sound like it's going to talk about Amish, but they do know a lot about Amish, and they talk all about both Mennonites and the Amish. But inside their center, they have like a museum, they have informative exhibitions, they have a documentary, books, and merchandise, all that will enhance your learning of the history and culture of Lancaster. And here's like a little quick slideshow of some other great museums and learning opportunities for the history of this area. First, we have President James Buchanan's home Wheatland. There's also historic Rock Ford, the Landis Valley Museum, Ephrata Cloister, and Lancaster history, as well as the Johann Mueller House in Lititz. And then don't forget about the National Toy Train Museum, which is a really fun place to visit in Strasbourg. There are a lot more to discover, so check out those tours websites I have listed in the description for a lot more information. Okay, we are moving on to the third aspect of planning the perfect Amish country getaway, and that is the entertainment of the area. So besides the beautiful countryside and the peacefulness and the historical museums, there's actually a lot of fun things to do in Lancaster. And probably the two biggest entertainment aspects of Lancaster that they're most known for is the Strasbourg Railroad and Sight and Sound Theater. We're going to talk about both of those, but first let's talk about Sight and Sound, because this is an outstanding, amazing theater. And if you're not into theater, you need to go here and just give it a try, because I'm pretty sure you're going to go back. And that's usually what happens. In fact, the last time I was there, I met a couple who comes back year after year for decades to come see these shows because they're amazing. So highly, highly suggest going there. It's spectacular, but it also tells you these important truths from the Bible. So it's just a blessing all around. And Lancaster has a whole bunch of other theaters as well. Some of the more popular ones are the American Music Theater, the Fulton Theater, the Dutch Apple Dinner Theater, which is fun because you get to have dinner, and the Magic and Wonder Show. These are very popular. And there's also the Bird in Hand Stage, which I love because it's part of the Bird in Hand Corporation, and it's a cozy, great little theater with terrific acting and talent. Now let's ride back to Strasburg and talk about all the fun there. So yes, there's the Strasburg Railroad, which has been offering rides for decades, and I used to go there, like 40 years ago when I was a kid, and I remember it. I still love it. And then I brought my kids there years ago, so we have a lot of great history with Strasburg. It's a wonderful place. There's a lot of rides there. They have their typical rides. They have holiday rides. They have special wine and cheese rides. They have like a murder mystery ride. So check them out because there's a lot of rides they offer and they're really fun. But Strasburg is way more than the Strasburg Railroad. There's a lot to do around there. There's first of all, I want to mention the Choo Choo Barn because that's just a great stop for all ages, but it's an enormous model train display and there's like literally pieces of Pennsylvania all over this thing. It is so cool. So definitely go check them out. There's the National Toy Train Museum, which I mentioned, the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania, and really it's right down the street from Sight and Sound, and Cherry Crest Adventure Farm is really close by as well. And there's also Village Green's miniature golf course right outside town. It is an amazing miniature golf course. It's probably the best I've ever been to. It's just so cool. There's 2 different courses they offer, and it's beautiful, and these tall trees with streams and nature all around you. So it's a really fun course to try. And truly, you'll find a lot of miniature golf courses spread throughout Lancaster, so that's a really fun thing to do while you're there. Another fun thing to do in Lancaster is the Strasburg scooter tours. I have not done this, but it's definitely on my short list. This is a fun way to explore the countryside in a unique, one-of-a-kind way. So this is a fun option if you want to kind of get out and feel the wind against your face and be really out amongst the landscape and the fresh air. So close by is Hershey Park, which is a really huge, fun amusement park that's been around for a long time. But you don't have to go to the park. There's Hershey's Chocolate World. You can do that just completely separate, and that's a really fun thing to do. And they have beautiful botanical gardens in Hershey. And then there's also smack dab middle of Lancaster, Dutch Wonderland, which is one of my favorite places on earth. I love it here. I've been going here since I was little. Took my kids there. I wish I had little kids still so I could go because it's such a fun, family-friendly amusement park. And I cannot say enough good things about it. It's just wonderful. Okay, we're close to the end. Really, there's not too much more to talk about. I know I've been talking a lot, but there's so much to do in Lancaster. I want to make sure I have it all in one video so you can come back to it whenever you want and check it out. So the 4th objective to planning the perfect weekend getaway to Amish country is to know the shopping of Lancaster. So there is a lot of shopping in Lancaster. I'm actually not a big shopper, but I know people who are, and they love shopping here. So you have antique shopping, which is amazing here. You have furniture shopping, which is probably unlike anywhere else because a lot of it's Amish furniture. And of course, quilt shopping is huge in Lancaster because they're unlike anywhere else with beautiful Amish quilts. And if you're not really a shopper, almost everybody comes here and takes something home with them, even if it's just something little. There's just so much to choose from, and there's a lot of countryside road stands and farmers markets and all sorts of things where you can buy lots of different stuff. So here are some suggestions for both farmers market shopping and other local shopping areas. First, the farmers markets. So they have so much more than local produce and meats and cheeses, though those are outstanding. They also carry lots and lots of goods and merchandise and even furniture. It's worth visiting them because they have so much to offer. The 4 main ones are Roots Country Market and Auction, held every Tuesday all year long. Another one is the Green Dragon, held every Friday all year long, and both of these have been around for a very long time. I mean, almost 100 years for Roots. If you want something smaller, head over to the Bird Hand Farmers Market, which is a great little market, and it has kind of like a almost downstairs basement with tons of clothing and merchandise, along with the farmers market on the main level. And then lastly, downtown Lancaster City has a farmers market called Central Market. So lots of farmers markets to choose from. They all have a plentiful supply. There are also lots and lots of roadside stands scattered all over Lancaster County, and really there's no map for them. Somebody should do a video on that someday. I think that's a really good idea. But if you just drive around the summertime especially, you're just going to come across them at the end of someone's long driveway. So that's a really fun way to shop as well. Okay, so besides the farmers markets, there are some specific local areas that have a lot of local vendors that represent the area. So first is Kitchen Kettle Village, and it's almost exclusively local people selling their their goods. There are a couple things that are kind of national, but most of it's very local. And it's a beautiful, charming little place to shop. It has brick-lined sidewalks and it's just decorated always so nicely. It's just a really fun way to shop in Lancaster. And really, while you're in Kitchen Kettle Village, just kind of stay in the town of Intercourse. There's a lot of shops in Intercourse itself and really neat places to visit. And then the other place I want to tell you about is the town of Lititz. Talk about overload with so much to choose from. You will really see the personal touch of the local people, the craftsmanship, the creativity, and all the vendors that are at these places. So great places to shop for local goods. Okay, we made it to the very last objective of this list, and it is my favorite. Well, it's tied for first with my favorite with food, but it is downtime. Making sure you plan for downtime. Serenity now is like a real thing here because so much of this area moves at a slower pace. It just kind of rubs off on you when you're here. So when you are planning your trip, make sure you block off time in your day to just drive around and explore. It's an adventure because you just don't know what you're going to see, but almost always you will find some sort of treasured scene along the way. And the countryside is so vast, you could honestly drive around for hours. And for real, in doing so, you will probably feel your body just relax and maybe your breathing gets slower and deeper and you find yourself smiling at an open field of cows, so it's kind of euphoric. A few suggestions to look out for. First, covered bridges. Shameless plug, I did a whole video on how to find like 20 of these in Lancaster County, so I'll link it up here at the top. It's also really fun to see the workers in the fields. It's just neat to see the teamwork that they use to harvest their crops and work the soil, so that's fun to see. A few more Amish specific sites. Hanging the laundry on the line. That sounds silly, but they usually have like a wash day or here and there, and they have their laundry like always in this orderly fashion on their line, so it's fun to see that. Also seeing the Amish scooting by on their scooters, so that's their method of transportation when they're just going somewhere quick, besides the horse and buggies. They do scooters rather than bikes. That's the kind of thing about Lancaster. And then, of course, the most coveted thing to find is the horse and buggies, and that's just always a pleasant thing to see and to hear. So yes, I cannot stress enough how important it is to block off that time to drive around and just enjoy the countryside. There's so much to see, and it's so relaxing, and it really kind of refreshes you as you drive around. First planning tip is make sure you go to at least one smorgasbord/buffet during your trip. That's where you're going to be able to sample the most of the local food. And then once you kind of get your favorites, you can start going to the smaller restaurants or start ordering off the menu. Okay, planning tip number 2 is to make sure you plan your dining around the activities you want to do. Make sure you're choosing a restaurant that's kind of close to the area you're already in instead of backtracking and going across town, because Lancaster is a humongous county. Okay, Danielle, tip number 4 is to not underestimate the time you need per area. So if you're in Strasburg, for example, and you're at the Strasburg Railroad, or you want to go get ice cream, and then you want to go to the Village Greens miniature golf course, you're going to need hours of time. I usually plan one big event in the morning and then one big event in the afternoon with course food in between. So I just make sure I have enough time. Okay, the last tip I'm going to share with you is to just drive, keep going, just keep turning down road after road after road, because we have our smartphones now and they can really get us back to anywhere we need to be, which is so nice, because I remember back in the day before smartphones and you could spend all day in Lancaster and not be able to get out of there. But now it's so easy with smartphones, so don't be afraid to start driving around and seeing what you see, which is really worth taking the time to do that. Okay, so that's the long 5-step version of the best way to plan a trip to Lancaster. It's a lot of information, I know, but at least it's all in one video, so it's kind of easy to go back to. If you're a first timer, you're going to want to make sure you figure out which of these points are most important to you and then plan your trip accordingly. So there's a lot to choose from, and you might not even need all 5. You might want to do all 5. Just make sure you prioritize what you want to do most. And let me know what you think. If you're a first timer planning a trip, let me know what you're most excited about. If you've been there 1,000 times and are a pro, tell me what your tips are. And let me know what area is your favorite thing. There are weekends and days I just drive around and have a soft pretzel and I'm good to go. And there's other times I really can't wait to see a show at Sight and Sound. So there's just so much to do. It's worth going back over and over again. You'll become a lifelong fan most likely once you start going. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy your next Lancaster adventure.